Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be starting a brand new campaign for the Empire, and this is going to be using the SFO mod, and this is on the Wildwood update, and this is April 2020. So special thanks to John for sponsoring this campaign. If you'd like to sponsor a campaign yourself, just email me at thestrategyprofessor@gmail.com. Let me know what you have in mind. We can set that up. Be sure to check out the rest of the content on the channel as well. We do tons and tons of legendary campaigns with the SFO mod, and we're constantly adding more. So right now I'm finishing up an Deathclaw campaign, and we're doing an Akai the Wanderer with the Lizardman campaign. We're starting this one, and then we'll just see where we go from there. So constantly adding more. Be sure to check it out. We have all of those archived on the channel as well, so you can go back and watch them anytime.
As I hold
okay, so John wanted to see Emperor Karl Franz. I have done mostly Balthasar. In fact, I think I've done all Balthasar with my Empire campaigns on the channel. I do like Balthasar a lot. I will say he is very strong. Yes. The big thing about Balthasar is you do get the +10 armor for all units, which is very good early on. A lot of Empire units don't have a ton of armor. It's okay, but it's not great early on. And then he's pretty good at magic with 15 starting wins of magic. And then he gets a 20% discount on War of Metal. 10% for artillery is also pretty strong. So I do think that Balthasar is good. But magic was nerfed pretty hard on the last couple of patches with SFO mod. So I don't think it's going to be as strong as it has been in the past with some of those Balthasar campaigns. So yeah, there is that to consider. And Balthasar can't really fight at all early on, whereas Karl is a really good fighter early on, and he gets an awesome mount, Deathclaw. I don't know exactly what it's classified as, like a flying griffin or something that's just really, really strong eventually. The one kind of knock with him is you don't have access to magic early. We'll talk about that when we get in there. But it takes you a little bit to get some magic in the campaign. But he does have a lot of really powerful things going for him. He does get +20 diplomacy with the rest of the Empire, which is very strong, especially with this new Imperial system that we'll talk about when we go in there that was implemented maybe a few months ago. I don't remember exactly when they did that, but there's kind of a new elector count system that they did. Actually, that was probably like half a year, almost a year ago at this point. But anyways, that's good. Ward recruit rank, all new lords that you hire, you get +6 ranks on them, so that's strong. Any Reichsguard units, you get +10. Reichsguard are pretty strong cavalry. They're here. I mean, they're not going to be as strong as like top-end Bretonnian cavalry or like tier 4, tier 5 cav, but they're pretty solid, especially with all the different upgrades you can get on them. And this is huge, 10% upkeep off of pretty much all of your non-elite units. So your swordsmen, your pikesmen, archers, free company militia, handgunners. You have a lot of these state troops, as they're called, and getting a big discount on them is very nice early on. And then +3 public orders, kind of whatever. It's nice in the early game. Leadership +5, and then recruitment -25% for all units. Okay, so legendary, very hard. Let's go ahead and get in here. Now, Empire in general is one of my favorite factions. I really like them a lot because there's so many different ways you can play them and so many different ways the campaigns can play out. Like diplomacy, you know, there's usually a standard few different things that'll go on in the early game, but you do have a lot more options with Empire than a lot of other factions in terms of the kinds of enemies that you want to fight early on and how you want to proceed. And then there are a lot of different units that can be pretty strong early. You know, you can go into some great swords early on. You can go into the artillery early on. They even have some really good skirmisher cav early on with the handgunners with grenade launchers. Can be pretty strong. You've got the fanatic units you can get early if you want to. So there's a lot of different kinds of units, and there's a lot of different kind of political intrigue. If you do like politics a lot, this new system is pretty cool. Their elite units are pretty good. I mean, their tier 5's not nearly as strong as a lot of other factions' tier 5s. Still pretty good. Demigriffs are some of the best cav in the game.
Is extinguished, sire. Yet the fight to secure your rule has only just begun.
Okay, we'll go ahead and just kick it off there. So they're one of the best, like, well-rounded factions in the game, which is how humans are in almost any fantasy setting, right? Is they are just kind of the jack of all trades, like pretty good at most things, but not really the best at any one particular thing. So, you know, like I was saying, they have a pretty good suite of different units, most of which are viable in some situations, right? So they really don't have a lot of dead units, whereas most factions do, where they have like a couple of powerhouse units you go for. Almost all of these are pretty pretty good in most situations. So especially at tier 3, they get a really big power spike at tier 3. They get access to the great swords, which have pretty respectable armor at 100, and then they get +8 bonus versus infantry, so they end up with 46 melee attack and 53 weapon strength. They have AoE attacks, good armor, and there are several good upgrades for them, so those are really strong. That's a great option. And recently in the base game, and this carried over in SFO, you don't have to have an armory anymore to get the great swords, which is huge because that was so annoying that you had to do it before. So the fact that you can get it in a secondary town, a tier 3 town, is going to be really nice. And then you can also get these grenade launchers and outriders at tier 3 now too. I think these used to be tier 4, I believe, so now you can get them at tier 3. You do have to have a gunsmith as a secondary, but you want that gunsmith early on for the mortars anyways. They did go ahead and move the handgunners over here. I think those used to be... I feel like they used to be here in the rally field tree, but now they just went ahead and moved them over here, so that's kind of nice. This war wagon's kind of a newer unit. It's not really that great. I think they buffed them up a little bit. It's basically like hand grunners in the back of a wagon that you can run around. So once again, another really good kind of, or a potentially good skirmisher type of unit. I think it is a little expensive for what it is, but it's still pretty decent. Now this one's a bit better with the mortar that can run around. So those are kind of cool units. You don't necessarily have to get them, but you have some good, what I call like line of sight gunpowder units. So these are like pretty bad on hills. But they are like very good. If they get open shots, they can definitely shred some units pretty hard. So those are all right. Great cannon, just a standard cannon unit. It's pretty good. Mortars are still going to be the most powerful because that arcing shot is what it is. I talk about it in a lot of campaigns. If you have the arcing shot, just being able to go over the walls on those sieges, ignore hills, all that stuff, it's going to be really good. So mortars probably going to be our bread and butter there. The demigriffs that I talked about, we'll go ahead and get into a fight, and then we'll walk through some of the other stuff in a little bit, are expensive, but they are extremely strong. You know, these are like the OG superior cavalry units. They're monstrous calves. There's only 24 of them in a stack, which means that they're very effective. Almost all of them are going to get to fight the whole time. What happens when you run into things like Empire Knights that have like 60, they end up with multiple rows, and a lot of them don't get to attack. They're just kind of sitting there as backup. So they don't get to express kind of their full power there. But when you have these 24 monstrous infantry, those are so strong. And I've talked about this before with like ground monsters as well. A lot of kind of the other content creators will say, oh, monstrous infantry is bad or monstrous cav is bad. But really, it's not. And the big thing is, after a battle, if the unit is not dead, if it's just injured, it gets replenished all the way to full. So if you only have 24 units here, even if you're at 50% health on the little health bar, if you still have 24 units, they get healed all the way up to full at the end of the battle. So that's really good for these like rapid fire battles with lightning strike when you're fighting against chaos or something like that. They have like 4 stacks you have to kill with one army. It's very, very nice to get that kind of basic full replenishment. So that's one thing that makes them really strong. Among other things, they also have, there are 2 versions, kind of the anti-infantry and anti-cav. The anti-cav are particularly good against other cavalry. They get bonus 35 versus large. So that's going to put them all the way up at 80 melee attack pre-charge against large units. And 75 of their damage is going to be armor piercing. And they have 120 armor. So basically really high armor piercing damage. And really high anti-cav damage, so that is extremely strong. And then good speed too for something that's that heavily armored. Being able to move at 75, and they weigh a lot, so their charge is absolutely crushing. And it says that here with this devastating charge because they weigh so much. Because like how the charge damage works, if you didn't know that, and I don't know the exact formula for this, but the bigger the unit is, the heavier it weighs, the more damage it does on impact. So it's speed plus weight equals impact damage. So when you see some of these lighter units that have like some okay charge bonuses or like not that great, like this thing, these outriders, you know, they have a 40 charge bonus, right? Versus this thing, you know, these armored Empire Knights have a 55. So it looks like, oh, it's not that much of a difference, right? It's a huge difference though, because this is heavily armored. So that means that it's going to do just like real life physics, right? If you get hit by someone riding a bicycle, that's not going to hurt as bad as if you get hit by a semi-truck. And those demigriffs are basically the semi-truck. So very, very strong. And then the anti-cav one, are pretty good as well. They end up getting 25 bonus versus infantry. I don't know if they do sweeping attacks or not, but they also have silver shields. They're just really, really strong. So we'll eventually get to those. One of the few drawbacks of Empire, though, is that they don't get that magic early. It requires tier 4 to get this. Now, I think there is an event early on we can do to get a random wizard, and there are a lot of different kinds of magic you can get as Empire, which is cool, but the problem is a lot of magic is not really, like, that great. There are a few schools of magic that are, like, really strong, much stronger than others, but we'll see what we get. But you do have to get to tier 4 to any magic, which is rare. Most factions, you can start getting magic at tier 3, so... Anyways, let's go ahead and get into a fight, and then we'll talk some more about the Empire. Okay, so what you want to do early, it's pretty straightforward. You just kill all of the Secessionists. So, pretty straightforward.
The Empire.
Okay, and then as far as our stances go, we can't do this one yet, but that gives you more ammo, missile damage, and missile resistance. That can be pretty strong. In theory... This can give you 25 winds of magic, which isn't going to matter right now, but later on can be strong. Just a standard kind of encampment stance. Raid stance requires 50 to adopt. You can still move around while you're raiding, but you lose 25 movement for that. You don't get any replenishment, but you do get minus 10% upkeep for units. Typically, you don't raid a lot as Empire. Standard ambush stance, so nothing like super fancy with the stances. Probably this one right here, this trenches, or the channeling later on will be the two that we might use. Okay. Let's go ahead and fight them. Now, they did switch up the units that you start with. I'm pretty sure you used to start with a... I guess we'll just auto-resolve this, and then we'll get to a real fight here in a second, because there's no way. We have 2 Reichsguard plus... these units, this Imperial Foot, which is a special foot Reichsguard unit, which is kind of weird. This is a new unit. It does have a magical aura, which gives your units extra vigor and leadership. But it only works if you're losing in melee, so it's kind of weird. But they do have 50-50 on melee attack and defense and heavy armor, so they're kind of like great swords, but I don't think that they do the sweeping attacks, and they don't have the heavy armor piercing damage, so... They're a little... I think they're probably a little bit weaker than great swords, but they're very expensive, too, at 580. I might actually just dismiss those, honestly. We need them early on, but later on I might dismiss those. I didn't realize they are that expensive, which is an extremely high cost. Okay, we'll just go ahead and auto-resolve that. I did more damage than I thought, but we are going to get to replenish a little bit this turn. If I would have known it was going to be that much, I would have just... Terrifying Mask of E. That's actually pretty good, causing terror early on. I would have just fought that if I would have known, because we would have absolutely just annihilated them. Okay, I'm going to take the replenishment just to make sure we're healed up and we can take Grunsburg here. Okay, so we did get some prestige. Capture Grunsburg. Winds of magic plus 20. Okay, good for later, not good for now.
Bring me to my men.
We can't hit this in one turn, so we're just going to step back here.
Sigma compels us onward.
And then let's go ahead and hire. Now, I think we just want swordsmen. Swordsmen do have 5 more armor and shields. Because before you would just get spam spearmen with shields because the swordsmen weren't that much better, but I think that they are... The spears actually have higher melee attack. This is 67 total, 69 total on the spears, but these have, I think, 5 bonus versus infantry, right? Yeah, so these are going to be a little bit better. Okay, so let's just do swords then. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and upgrade this. And we're not making that much money, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the growth off. One of the big benefits, actually, that'll only let us recruit 2 units. Is that going to be a problem? How strong? Empire Secessionists are pretty strong. They're going to have several armies there. Okay, we'll keep that then. But what you can do with a lot of factions is if you take this off, it gives you a lot of public order. It gives you 10 public order on legendaries. You see it says taxes -10. And then, why are we going down? Oh, there's some Skaven corruption already here? Wow, okay. That's kind of weird. But what was I saying? And it gives you a lot of growth. So this can give you up to 50 growth. Right now we have 0 growth because of events. We're getting -10 off of this Imperial Authority. So yeah, we could take that off, but that is going to affect our recruitment. I do want to get up to tier 3, but we also need the money for these buildings. So we need 3,200 for this. And if we eventually want to get to Gunsmith, we need this, which is going to be like 8,000. So we'll have to wait for a second here. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and do that. As far as techs go, there are not, I don't believe, any more prerequisites. You used to have to get different like high-level buildings, and I don't think for most of the techs you have to do that anymore. So you don't have to have a gunsmith. Like you used to have to get the foundry, I believe, to get access to some of the different gun technologies. And you had to get the menagerie to get certain cavalry techs. And you had to get this one to get, you know, some of the melee techs. So they got rid of a lot of that. Now there are some of the really high-end techs that do require it. So getting City Altdorf is required for Rune Fang Pact, and then some of these up here at tier 5 are required, but they've removed most of the requirements, so now it's a lot more modular. You can get whatever you want. So a lot of these are kind of very similar to the techs you used to be able to get back in the day. They did add in some more over here with trade, industry, and imperial colleges, and now you have these diplomatic corps. Now these are actually more expensive than I remember. I thought these were 7,500. They may have increase the price on them. I think they did do some balancing changes in recent patches. But you do want to do this one for Empire, Kislev, and Southern Realms, and +2 public order. You do want to get that ASAP. That helps out a ton with your diplomacy with other factions, because you really don't want to go to war with other Empire factions if you can at all help it, because it's going to just crush your Imperial standing. So you do want to try to confederate with as many as possible. Now, you might get roped into some wars with some of them, but you want to try not to do that. So anyways, these are good. And then this is super expensive as well, 2,500. This is a permanent buff, and you can do this once you get a tier 3 temple building. You can upgrade one of these. Now I think you can only pick one. Yeah, you can pick one there. And I think what we want was probably going to be the 20% movement range with income from ports, but we can think about that for later. 15% for Lore of Life. If we did that, Lore of Life's been nerfed pretty heavily though. It is still pretty good, but growth is good. But later in the game, I don't think that's going to matter as much, because you can just get growth just by not taxing, you know, a province if you really want to power it up early on. The research rate in public order is definitely worth considering though, because there are a lot of good techs and you don't have a lot of ways to get your research rate up. That is handy, but 20% campaign movement range and income from ports is going to be really solid. But what we want to go for in the early game, you want to get the +10 armor for everybody. Just like I explained with Balthasar earlier, you have a lot of early game infantry that can be pretty effective but don't necessarily have a ton of armor. And then this -10% for basically all state troops is just like Karl's passive all over again. So -20% total for stuff is really, really strong. So we definitely want to go for that. Other things to consider, this ammo for archers and outriders and pistoliers is very strong. You'll see those units will be very powerful over time with us, so those are going to be pretty solid overall. This +2 cap for greatswords can be pretty handy. Weapon strength for infantry can be okay. The cavalry stuff late game can be good. In particular, because this gives you one more demigriff, that can be very useful later on. So those are hard to come by. So there are several good ones. And then over here, as far as like this stuff goes, +10% for building, 25% research rate's really good. You do want that kind of early on. And then a few other good ones in here. Growth, public order is going to be solid, kind of in the mid game. So there's definitely some pretty solid stuff going on around here. But anyways, this is where you want to go. State troops, you got to get that cost down, and you want that 10 armor ASAP. Okay, so we're leveling this up.
I am Prince
As far as and we will get to a real fight this episode. I'm just trying to explain as much as I can. You want to try to get Empire's Finest ASAP. That's going to be your spearmen, swordsmen, and halberdiers early on. Getting that extra melee attack and melee defense is going to be massive in the early game. And then another one that's pretty good is this Pistol Corps here. They ended up putting the Outriders, Pistoliers, and the Crossbowmen all on one unit. Those used to be separate in the Pistol Corps, and so that's very, very strong. Extra 12% damage and ammo is really good in the early game. And this over here, this ammo for mortars in particular, is going to do a lot of damage, be really powerful. Now, Honest Steel, this is one thing, you know, this might make greatswords a little bit weaker early on than some of the other top-end units, because it's only plus 12% damage and 12 armor. It's not like the standard 8-8 melee attack and melee defense, but it's still going to be pretty good, and that's also demigryphs. So that's really weird to have your top-tier infantry and your top-tier cav under the same upgrade, but you do have that. And then later on, you've got this thing here is one of the best, like one of these level 7 type of skills in the game. 15% physical resist for great swords, halberdiers, and your demigryphs, and any of the special knights, which we'll talk about later that you could get, which really aren't that great most of the time. Unless you're already capped out on demigryphs, then maybe you get some of them, but the demigryphs are better. So yeah, you get 5 melee attack, 5 melee defense, and 15% physical resist. That is really, really strong. So yeah, your red tree's looking good. Your blue tree's pretty standard. It's going to be very good. Experience per turn, 15% recruitment, irrepressible, sort of whatever, but then you got to get that Lightning Strike and Quartermaster. I talk about this almost every campaign. Lightning Strike is crucial when you're fighting huge hordes of enemies, especially Chaos. 15% upkeep is massive, especially on Legendary, where stuff costs a lot more. And then Headhunter is pretty good. +1 recruitment capacity and +2 ranks. It's not as good as Renowned and Feared, which a lot of the Warhammer 2 factions have that, which gives you a further 8% reduction and all these other crazy bonuses, but it's still pretty good. Now, every sort of melee lord's going to have this. Another thing they're going to have are these. Now, this is a trade-off that you can get later on. You have to be level 15 to start getting these. But I just want to tell you that this, the Watch, 100% you got to get this. It's so powerful. 40% extra campaign movement range for your Lord. 40. That's 4 Route Marchers. 40% campaign movement range. Line of sight is nice. It's not entirely necessary. And 20% upkeep reduction for Outriders. And reload time for Outriders, so they fire faster. Now, yes, your artillery is going to cost 30% more, but, I mean, how many artillery are you going to have, right? Most of the time, you maybe have 3, maybe 4 pieces if you're going really hard on the artillery, and most of them are pretty cheap. I mean, the mortars are like 200 gold each, so that is 100% worth it. It's insanely strong, so you have to get that. There really is no other option. The other options, if you're curious though, minus 30% campaign movement range. Your artillery does more damage. That seems good, but you're so slow. It's not worth it. You're going to be getting backdoored a lot in this campaign too by like Norska and Chaos just always running around threatening your ports. It's annoying. Missile resist for infantry. Now the minus 15% for the swordsman and all that stuff is good, but you'll notice right there it does not include great swords. So later in the game it does not reduce the great sword upkeep. And it's plus 30% for cav. And there's a decent chance we'll probably have like 4 or 5 cav. And the demigryphs are expensive, so that one's not as good, although it's respectable. And then some extra charge bonus and things like that. Now notice that's Empire Knights and Order Knights. That's not demigryphs, okay, as far as the charge bonus goes. And then plus 15% for infantry, which is not great because you're almost always going to have at least 7 infantry in your armies, so that's going to be expensive. So this thing right here is super strong later on. Then he has 3 different weapons you can get, most of which are just kind of whatever. Galmaraz is good. Beast Slayer's like okay. Silver Seal's kind of worthless. Because he was like one of the original lords, and they just threw a bunch of random stats, I feel like, on some. They just really didn't know how to balance a lot of the stuff early on, and it's pretty weak, but I mean, it's alright. But and then you just have some good Empire bonus stuff. Now that right there for great swords is pretty strong. And then minus 10% upkeep for everybody's really good. So we'll obviously pick those up as soon as those are available. Deathclaw is that awesome mount that I mentioned before. Look at that thing. 9,000 health, 120 armor, 100 movement speed, I mean, he's just a beast once he gets that mount. And then over here, you get a couple of things that are pretty good. Now, I'm not sure if I have to choose these great statesmen, all that stuff, but anyways, it's pretty good. Okay, but early on, we want as much fight as we can get, so let's go ahead and go for Empire's Finest. Okay, and then we're going with this. We'll explain the rest of the stuff over the next couple of episodes, or over the next couple of turns. Okay. So there's a lot going on with Empire, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, there are a lot of choices. So this is one where your red tree's really good, your blue tree's really good, and a lot of your sort of specialty secondary stuff is definitely worth considering. So that is very nice. And then the text that we mentioned, there's a lot of good text out there. Okay. He's gonna dash in. Wow, dude, he can run. He went from out of sight all the way into that town. That man's running. Okay. I can't declare war on Marienburg for 20 turns if they do this. Now, they could declare war on me. I think I've taken this in the past, and they can still declare war on me if we do that. I mean, who else am I going to fight? I guess I can just go down and fight vampire counts if I want to do that. Just kill all of these guys and just go for vampires. I'm trying to think if I want to siege. Marienburg does have a really good port. But holding that property against, like, Norska, potentially bad. 3,000 gold is good. Now, I can't do anything, like, I can't do the specialty diplomatic stuff. I would get a bonus if I could take that. $3,000 gold would be very nice. As you can see, I am starting to already get a little strapped for cash. 40 turns is a long time, though. I think I can get invited to war. Like, someone else can... I think there's a way I can get around that. Okay. I think there's a way I can get around that.
Bring me to my men.
If I really want to.
Raise Sigma.
Oh, I forgot to do diplomacy. I was in such a hurry, I forgot to do diplomacy last turn. Okay, so let's do diplomacy this turn then. Okay, so Talabek land likes us.
By Sigma's will, come in peace. A fool's action.
Let's see if they'll do a trade agreement.
Very well.
Okay.
Of course.
Talbot Glen does have some nice properties. It is basically right up against vampire counts, so we do have to be careful with that. And they're already, like, kind of confederated there. If you notice, they don't have, like, Tempelhof or anything. Like, they've already taken that over. So they start off a lot stronger than you start off if you personally play vampire counts. Vampire counts is another one of my favorite campaigns. Okay, so I should have done some of this last turn. Ostelin has aversion. They don't like us too much, so that's not happening. Midland kind of likes us. I think they end up being treacherous towards us. Marienburg is sort of whatever. We could try to trade with Marienburg. I kind of don't want any pact with them, though, in case I do turn on them at some point. The trading's not, like, that valuable yet. Okay, now... Yes. Obviously, Balthazar is the big one.
Is the surest. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, he's number one that I want to be able to recruit from. Corone does like us. I mean...
I am the blood of Gilles.
I kind of would, you know, it'd be nice to take Corone, but you kind of want people who have a buffer zone against Norskin, so you don't have to constantly field an army and deal with all their garbage, because you'll have to have a 4,000 or 5,000 gold army just constantly patrolling around, you know, to try to control this town, you know, like some of these ports that are going to give you, like, what, 300 or 400 gold a turn, so it ends up financially not really being worth it to try to hold this Norskin, sort of adjacent territory, because going up there and killing them is really annoying to do. It's like chaotic waste. You're going to take a lot of attrition. You can't move that quickly. The towns are not very profitable. It's just really annoying to deal with them. So if you can keep people alive that will field those armies for free effectively to help protect you and your lands on the inside, I think that's kind of a smarter play. So we'll see if we can play nice with Corone.
How fares the Emperor? No.
And then if we can take the southern stuff, that would be a little bit better before he confederates with all of them. Oh, Kara's a carrot. Okay.
Greetings, Sigma's chosen. Yes.
Okay. We'll see if we can power up with these guys and get a little more, get some more stuff going on with them. Kislev.
The Tsarina empowers me to offer you warm greetings.
Same thing. You want Kislev hanging out there on the border if you can get him to do it. Let's see if he'll give us some money. Trade agreement. I hope they make Kislev in Warhammer 3 a faction. I think they're going to, based on everything I can tell. They like added him to the fantasy, the tabletop, I'm pretty sure. We're just trying to get a little cash here. I should have done the diplomacy last turn. I don't think it's going to matter. Oh, crap. I forgot. Okay, so we got to wait 10 turns to break this non-aggression, I believe. Vampire counts. I'm not sure who I'm going to fight then after these guys. I thought I could go down there and beat them. Why? Why are we friends with vampire counts? Bunch of traitors. Okay. It's hard to declare war on some of these guys. Okay, so anyways, you have these electoral machinations that you get for winning battles, settlements, certain quests, and things like that. And you can spend that kind of like the High Elves on... Oh, I didn't even know about this Imperial Decree. Oh, this is new. I don't remember seeing this. Okay. But traditionally, you can spend them on this where you improve your relations with certain factions. And the fealty is... affects like how likely, I don't remember everything that it does, but you can spend that kind of like a currency. Once you get them all the way up to 10, I believe they have to accept a confederation from you. If it gets down to like 3 or something, there's a chance that they could go to war with you. So yeah, you can end up paying it. Now, do not pay that for this stuff unless it's like you're just overflowing with it, because you will get certain events where it'll say something like spend 1,000 to help intervene in this, or they're going to go to war with you. You know, you got to spend money, or people go to war with you, or other bad stuff happens. So you want to save some of that. Then your imperial authority overall. So you have kind of this whatever it is, authority with each one of these guys, fealty. Then you have overall imperial authority, and this depends on just a bunch of different factors that are going on. But if you declare war on somebody within the empire, I think it takes it all the way down to calamitous, or at least down to crumbling. It goes down really bad, and then you start losing a lot of research, growth, taxes, all of that stuff. But if we can get up to here, that's obviously going to be really strong. So we need to try to get 1 imperial authority.
Ready.
Okay, let's go ahead and do this fight.
No.
Krunsberg. Okay. We can win this. It's going to be a little bit harder. I wish I'd manually resolved that last fight, but it is what it is. Okay, we don't have any ammo that's going to matter. That doesn't matter. Alright, let's do this fight. And then we'll read over what those things are down there. Imperial Decrees. I think that's cool that you can spend it on something else now instead of... Okay, let's fight it. That you can spend it on something else other than just those machinations and stuff like that, which is pretty cool, the events. But I like the kind of currency where you can buy special stuff. The Tomb Kings kind of started that OG, where you collected those like canopic jars, and you can buy items and different stuff with it. Now the Beastmen have it. I think the Dwarves have it. There are a lot of factions that SFO has given that to. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. Anything that's like trying to get you to balance multiple resources, I think is pretty good. Okay, so we do have this Rune Fang, which is a cool item that gives everybody extra melee attack, leadership for a limited amount of times. Is going to be good. Okay, so these Reichsguard are our bread and butter. We need to be careful with them. Now, we do only have Lance, which is still, like, it's a good charge bonus, but it's not as good as, I think Wedge is the other one. That's, like, better for sustained melee combat, but Lance is good for charge. If we want to do that. Now, our, I don't think they had any cav. And our missiles are, you know, a little dinged up here. We'll go ahead and keep these on the edge. Put this 3. I don't know how our missile units took the most damage and our front line didn't, but whatever.
Ready for war.
Okay, and then this, we can add what, extra charge bonus, melee defense, armor piercing damage. Okay, let's go ahead and spread these out a little bit.
Reichsguard Knights! Reichsguard! Reichsguard Knights! Yes, General! For Heldenhammer! To me, men! Take the ground!
Okay, so if we can keep the Reichsguard out of spears and just charge cycle them. Now, these are heavy cav, too, so they do get tired. I believe...
Moving now!
Oh, I have these
We are Sigmar's heirs!
on the wrong sides.
Reichsguard!
So these heavy cav do get tired. I believe that the Demigriff do not, though. Or they have, like,
Yes!
vigor loss reduction, which is really strong. Anytime your units get tired,
Handgunners!
they just lose all kinds of stats. They obviously move slower, you can see that, but they also lose leadership. And I believe they lose melee attack defense. I know they lose armor, which kind of weird. Like, how do you lose armor when you're tired? But it just basically destroys your stats. Okay, what is...
At speed!
I don't understand why they're rotating the way they're rotating.
Taking position!
Okay, we just need to stay out of spears. Now, fighting in the woods is not optimal.
Go!
Okay, I guess we're just picking these guys off then. I'm not sure like what's up here. They have a lot of units out.
To battle! No lingering!
A lot of spears.
Reichsguard! Handgunners!
Yeah, fighting in the woods is not good because you get reduced
To battle!
reduced
Yes, sir.
damage.
Quickly!
So that's probably why they're trying to set up in here.
My subjects call! Yes, sir! Quickly! Free formation! Moving now! Moving now!
And spears will tear up your cav, even like very small.
Take the ground! Moving now! Halberdiers! Go!
Even very small like entry-level spears will tear you up.
Reichsguard Knights!
So we want to try to get around all the way to the back there, get Karl in here.
Reichsguard Knights! In the name
Those crossbowmen really aren't going to do that much.
Your orders? Go!
So we'll just send those in here.
Yes, my lord! For Heldenhammer! To battle! Yes, General! Taking position! Reichsguard Knights! Go! Quick march! Sigmar commands! For France! That's an order! Very well, sir! Go! We serve the Emperor! Handgunners! Take the ground! For France! At speed! No lingering! Reichsguard! Reichsguard Knights! Yes,
I'm doing a good job of like
Yes, sir! We
keeping my cavalry off.
Moving now! Cavalry ready! Quick march! Sigma! Formation march! Watch! Charge! Quick march! No lingering! Take position! Take the ground! Obey!
Okay, so I terrored him.
By Karl Franz! Charge! Ready for war!
So we just want to fire into that. God, it's taking so long to even tear up these archers, which is pretty sad.
Formation, march! Reichsguard Knights! Charge!
No lingering! Ready!
Ulrich Wolves, charge with us!
Formation march!
Okay, so we need to get out of there because those are spears. We just want to get that charge.
Quick march!
For Altdorf! Soldiers of
Okay,
the
so we just want to
Empire!
flank around to the back here and see if we can shoot him in the back if we can.
Formation march!
Taking that position! Yes, sir, quickly! At speed! Taking that position!
Reichsguard! Ready!
To battle!
I will not stand idle!
Okay, so we got all those
Reichsguard!
broken.
Get them!
At speed!
Take the ground!
Fire on those.
Yes, sir, quickly!
Alright, so we're breaking them all now. We just got around to that back.
Yes, sir! Quickly!
They're all in a town, so if they run, they're all gonna die. We don't have to worry about chasing them down. That terrifying Mask of E was a very good pickup early on, because it does give us terror. You don't have a lot of fear or terror-causing units early on. I think Demigriffs might cause fear. I don't know if they cause terror or not, but... Okay, we got them. Yeah, so those Reichsguard did pretty well. You saw it still took a little while, even just to take down entry-level spears. Or entry-level crossbowmen, right? Right, and they do level up pretty quickly. As you can see, they already have 2 and 3 chevrons. So I think higher-level units tend to level up faster. I don't know the exact formula, but there are some units. Close battle? How? What? We murdered them. We lost 163 units. They did make it a bit harder to get decisive victories now, I think, but... Now, maybe if I ran all of them down, I'm not sure. Maybe that would affect the victory type. Maybe that would be decisive if I ran them all down and actually killed them all. Since they can't... But I didn't want to do that because they can't run anyways, and I didn't want to spend, 5 minutes running them down. But if it does give you a better victory type, maybe I could... do that. Now, we could funnel the experience onto Reichsguard by doing that also. We could have the Reichsguard run everybody down and kill them, and then power level them up to 7 and get that red bar at 7. I believe the Reichsguard were some of the people that got the 15% physical resist and the 5 melee attack, 5 defense, I think. But it distributes all the kills after the fight anyway, so... I'm not sure that it matters when everyone dies when it's part of a town. Okay. So we just want to normal occupy. So if you... well, no, actually we could sack and then occupy. If you sack, you do get 15%. It is going to damage one of the buildings, so we'd have to pay for that, but we would get extra replenishment. It would not affect our public order. So we'll have to pay some money, but we do get big replenishment for doing that. So I think I'll actually do that.
My orders are to move.
Sack first, just for the replenishment, and then we'll sack and occupy.
I command here.
Okay, so we do get +1 Imperial Authority. Nice. So that's very good. That's actually pretty huge. Okay, Battle of... Okay, so this is what we do to get a wizard if we want to do this. It's fairly strong, but not too bad. Okay, so we can come over there and fight that. But we do need to take out these Secessionists first, and then we can come over there and do that. I think with our Reichsguard, we can beat them.
Your burgeoning realm grows, Your Eminence, yet many evils still abound in this world. The Empire remains divided, and marauding greenskins still threaten your lands. Further afield, There are rumors of a dark force rising in the east, spreading the taint of undeath. You must remain vigilant.
Okay, we're vigilant. Okay, so Marienburg. Okay, absolute. Okay, so that's very nice.
Bring me to my men.
Yeah, because this was -10, so that's a swing of 20, because now we're +10, so that's very nice. Okay, and then I believe we just want to go for double Empire's Finest. So we definitely want one more point in it. And now we have 4-6. This one would give us 8-8. So that would give us 4-2. It's probably worth. Route Marcher's also really good, though. That 10% campaign movement range seems like it doesn't matter until it does, you know? Okay, we'll do this, because I think we're still going to have some... That was an okay fight, but they start to power up over here a little bit, and it starts to get a bit trickier. Okay, so Grunsburg, so we do have to repair that and repair that. So it did cost us about 1,000 gold to do that, but we basically bought 15% replenishment. Now, I think we do want this. We could just get rid of this. 30 growth, though, is good. The typical growth building is this, which is 10 growth. So getting the 30 growth is definitely going to be an upgrade.
Summon the Elector Counts.
Okay, and then we just want more swordsmen. I do want crossbowmen eventually, but I want to do it in these secondary towns. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and we're going to do this just to get the public order going a little bit. And just to get the growth going, because I do want to upgrade a lot of these towns.
I command here.
So I think we're already pretty strong. Now I could just go for these. These are pretty bad, honestly, compared to crossbowmen, but they are something. I just want some ranged. Okay, so let's go with that. It is a little greedy to go ahead and do the growth thing now, but I want to upgrade one of these to tier 2 at least, so that we can get crossbowmen, because they are a lot stronger. They have way more armor. They're just way better. And then eventually we can get the great swords, Empire Captain, all that stuff at a secondary town and not have to use our Reichsguard recruitment slots for that. And now, oh, I forgot about this. Actually, we can get Tap Room. That gives public order, and it allows you to recruit spearmen with shields, crossbowmen, and free company militia. So that is really good. And it gives 6 public order and replenishment rate. Super strong. And now you can also get a witch hunter at that, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's a really, really strong public order building. Okay. The money buildings are the money buildings are legit too. I mean, Weaving House is 250 a turn, so upgrading your secondaries is worth, at least to get to tier 2 in most towns. Okay, yes. What else are we gonna cover? We already did the diplomacy. We looked at electoral machinations. Oh, this fealty thing. So if you take over each one of these slots, then you get something else. Like you get this little bonus. You can install a lord there as the elector count, and then you get access to like a special weapon here. Like this is the troll cleaver. You get a different Rune Fang, which has stuff. And then the elector count himself gets these different bonuses, like vigor loss reduction for melee units. He personally gets 15% physical resist. And then you get a special like a regiment of renown that you can hire if you have it. So this is Knights of Everlasting Light, which look pretty cool. Just another chapter knight. Now, most of these aren't really that insane, honestly. A lot of these specialty units aren't that great. Like these Knights of More are pretty good. I mean, 40, 125. I think Balthazar's are... These spears are like all right. It does have the that defender. It won't let you hover over it for some reason, but it does have that thing right there with the little skull on it that gives you 15% physical resist on all your heroes and lords. And the armor one gives an aura of extra melee defense. So like some of these are pretty legit, you know. Nuln Iron Sights or Iron Sides as handgunners. So you get some cool stuff. So it's not like ultra game breaking, but they're all just kind of neat, sort of flavorful units that you can sprinkle in every now and then. But the fact that they are basically Regiment of Renown and you can hire them anywhere, anytime, you know, once you lose them, it does take 10 turns to replenish it. Or it might just be every 10 turns you can hire another one. But either way, it's really nice because you have normal Regiments of Renown. So you have these, which are like the specialty ones, like this one. It's 15 turns, actually, apparently, before we can hire another one of these. So you can only hire one every 15 turns. But still, you know, it's not, and they are expensive. But the fact that you can just respond, right? If there's something that's trying to backdoor you or whatever, you can just hire a lord, hire a bunch of Regiments of Renown, and some cheap state troops, and boom, you know, you're ready to go. So they do have, like, you know, really fast capabilities to hire a bunch of, like, fairly quality units pretty quickly. Because they basically have potentially two stacks of Regiments of Renown.
Bring me to my men.
Okay. Alright, so that's all good. That's all good. Oh, and the special buildings you can get here, you get this Imperial Palace, which allows you to get the Altdorf Company of Honor, and then you get tax rate, ward recruitment rank, all that stuff. You do get the Altdorf Conclave, which is okay. It's basically just like a normal battle wizard place, but you get some extra research rate and stuff like that. So it's not that crazy, but it's okay. It also doesn't have the minus 5% income from buildings. So that's good. Now this is solid though. The Castle Reichsguard, minus 1 recruitment for Reichsguard units. They usually take 2 turns to recruit, I believe. And then plus 3, plus 2 in all places, and then plus 3 from this. You get plus 5 ranks. I don't think Karl gives plus ranks anymore. If I remember, I think they changed that about him. But either way, you can hire him in with a lot of ranks. So that's pretty handy. Once again, the demigryphs, they're the best, right? Those are the godlike, you know, beasts that you can get. But you have a cap system on those, right? You can only hire so many demigryphs, and you have to have a lot of tier 4 places to get more of those. So these are going to be kind of scarce. They're strong, but they're more scarce, right? Whereas I don't remember if Reichsguard. Oh, they count as Order Knights. Okay, so the Order Knights are all these specialty knights we can get. So anyways, our primetime armies probably going to be rocking the demigryphs, but our secondary armies will like things like the Reichsguard and stuff like that. Okay, so I think that's it. Let me see. Imperial Decrees. Okay, so these are little 10-turn trade-offs. 4,000. Wow. For not a straight buff, it's a trade-off? What are they smoking? Who would do that? I mean, maybe super late game, free market, if you have just a ton of properties and you just like have an insane amount of prestige, or like just everything you've already confederated all the empire. Okay, so they're all 4,000 for economy. Now I could see this, the 30% movement range, maybe. 4,000 is a lot, I believe, for this prestige, though. Hey, thanks for the sub, Manuel. I appreciate it. Huh. Minus 25. Imperial supply units are those special Regiment of Renown units. Empire Kislev and Southern Realms don't like it. Study Bretonian Cavalry. This is kind of interesting. Okay, so you can take a diplomatic hit with people, a temporary one for 10 turns, in order to get buff up your cav. I assume that does not mean artillery. It might be, no. I mean, that could be pretty legit. Okay, it's cute. I don't know if I would do most of these most of the time, but I guess it's something you can spend your prestige on after you've already presumably gained control of all the Empire properties. Okay, so that's all good. I think...
It is good to see fellow sons of the Empire, not in my name.
I don't think anyone's going to give us money right now. How's Sterling? Sterling doesn't like us. I need to go kill those vampire counts, what I need. Okay, we'll see if we can get one more fight. If we can't this episode, obviously we'll next turn. So I was trying to just make sure that I explain as much as I can. So they got rid of the old system where you would just assign somebody to like a council or whatever. They got rid of that. They thought that was kind of boring. I didn't mind it. It was okay, but yeah, it wasn't as spicy as kind of this new system. Okay, that was actually their last army. Wow. Okay, so I'm only doing the faction-wide caps. I just think that's a good middle ground where it limits you somewhat, but I think the army caps, I don't know, they're just kind of anti-fun. Like, they are cool. You can do it. It does slow down your campaign a little bit, but I'll just do only the faction-wide caps. If you don't want to do the cap system, if you just want to be able to build as many different death stacks as you want, you can just do no caps, no problem. But I'm going to do the faction-wide caps. Okay. Yeah, trade agreement with Nordland. Well, that's going to be tough because they don't like me right now.
Empire.
But, like, what the cap system is that I just mentioned before is some of the elite units, you have to build so many buildings in order to get access to those units. So it just limits how many elite units you can get. And there are certain, like, technologies, and with some factions, there are certain provincial edicts and things that can give you more capacity. But this, for example, you get +1 for Empire Captains capacity. You get +2 for great swords for having that. You get the menagerie. You get extra demigriffs. But otherwise, you see that base cap. That means I can only have 2 of each type of demigriff. And then I'll only get 1 for each one of these extra buildings. Okay, so it just said the Secessionists. Okay, I didn't really realize they went down that hard. Something else must have killed them, like some beastmen or something over here.
Is it time?
I thought they were supposed to be tougher than that. It's been a little bit since I played a Karl campaign. Okay, they got a little army there, but not much. This is one of the new guys, I think. No, he's just got a new model. Okay. I thought that was one of the gunner guys. Okay. So Grunsburg's good. This is almost good. Now, we could get rid of this soon.
Now.
Those archers are very cheap, though. I think we might just grab a couple more of those. Do we need that many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess we'll hold. I think we have enough to probably beat them without it. I don't know why they're as weak as they are, but they are. Okay, so we could get rid of this then, in theory. That is costing us growth. So if we get rid of this... Because I want to... And then we could throw down a tap room. I need to get the public order up as fast as I can. That does help out with, gives you more tax rate, experience per turn, untainted. So it does give you some good bonuses there. So a tap room would be good. Also, just a money building would be really good right now. But yeah, just in our secondary town, we can just beef up one of our secondary towns and get the barracks there. Because we're not hurting for an army right now. Or like our army's pretty strong, so. And go for that. We could also, in theory, just get the gunsmith in a secondary town. Because we're probably not going to need great cannons, Hellblaster volley guns, and war wagons for a while anyways. So we could just throw this in a secondary town too. And you only need this armory now for demigriffs, basically. Steam tanks and demigriffs. So they do still make you have a secondary for demis, which is fair because they are really, really strong. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. This turn, and the next turn we'll just get some more money stuff, growth and money. Okay, so that's all good.
I command here.
Beesenland. I don't think they like us, do they? Nuln is a pretty big... They have a nice, They have some nice landmark buildings.
The Empire.
Come then. Only Sigma's God.
Now they're at 2
judge it worthy or no.
fealty. So they might actually come to fight us pretty soon. So we
Yes.
might want to chill with them. They do not like us. Trees at Temple. Okay, so they don't... Yeah, they don't like us.
What?
Ostland, I don't believe likes us. No. Talabik land. These are our
Yes.
homies. Okay.
Approach as friend. And
I wish it would say the fealty here. Midland almost always betrays
So-
you. Now we can't... I think if we go to war with them, it ends up being really bad. So I'm not sure who I'm supposed to fight other than, like, maybe the... I don't know, the Bretonians or something? Who are they at war? They're not at war with anybody yet. Hawkland. Wait, oh, we don't even... Oh, here's
calls?
Nordland. Okay, we need to try to get a
Greetings, my countrymen.
trade
You
agreement
come
with
in
them.
peace on this fine mark tag?
Not in my
They're not going
day.
to go for it, for that quest.
King Lewin Leoncoeur, our neighbors in the east deign to...
no.
Who is this? Oh, they're already at war with Norskins. 2 different Norskin tribes. Okay. Here's a Karak.
Kislev. The Tsarina empowers me to offer you Kislev.
Okay.
Bring me to my men.
We can go over here and get this, do that quest battle, too, at some point. We'll level up Karl first, though. Ooh. Oh, God. If Marienburg takes that, that's going to be really bad. That's not going to let me... I guess we'll allow mid-game Beastmen. Minus 5% taxes, all province. I'm not going to. They're gonna take it, aren't they? There's nothing I can do
will
about
not
it.
obey.
That's gonna be obnoxious because I'm not gonna be able to complete my province if they take that.
I am Prince and Emperor. Attack! Men, we must attack.
Okay, they're gonna make us fight it. Okay, so we'll fight this. Actually, we're at an hour. I need to keep these to about 45 minutes to an hour. So what we'll do, we'll just go ahead and end it here, and then we'll start off the next episode with this fight, and then we'll go north. We'll see what Marienburg does. If they take that, I can't fight them yet. We'll have to see if someone else goes to war with them. And then if someone else, they can invite us to war, I believe, and we can get around it. So yeah, after this, I guess maybe we just go into Bretonian property. Start taking some stuff over there, maybe. I'm not sure, because we got to find somebody to fight, and we don't want to fight other Empire people unless they fight us first. So we'll have to figure it out. But anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Special thanks to John for sponsoring this campaign. If you'd like to sponsor a campaign yourself, email me at thestrategyprofessor@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.